Gigabyte's Aero X16 is one of the lightest and coolest 16-inch laptops we've ever tested. But that comes at a cost. The Aero line used to target content creators, but now it's aimed at a broader audience, including gamers. So we ran our usual gaming tests to see what its RTX 5070 graphics can do. The Aero comes in space grey or lunar white finishes. I've got the white one, and overall it's got a clean design. The anodized metal lid has a premium feel, while the interior is black plastic. Overall build quality feels decent during normal use, but there was more flex to the keyboard than most other laptops. Lid flex was normal, but while doing this, I noticed the laptop doesn't grip to my desk very well. The rubber feet underneath just aren't that grippy. The lid hinges feel okay, even if I push them back too far or rip the lid open way too fast. And although the screen doesn't really wobble much when typing, it does flop around a bit if you bump it. It's easy to open with one finger, and the screen goes back the standard amount. The Aero feels very portable to carry around. It feels sleek and isn't thick. The laptop by itself weighs in at just 4.3 pounds or under 2 kilos, increasing to 5.3 pounds or 2.4 kilos with a small 150 watt charger included. It's lighter compared to previous Gigabyte laptops I've tested, while also having better performing specs inside. It's extremely close to being the lightest 16-inch gaming laptop we've ever tested when counting the charges, and basically tied with ASUS's more premium Zephyrus G16. My configuration has AMD's Ryzen 7 350 processor, Nvidia's RTX 5070 laptop graphics, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 16-inch QHD+ 165Hz screen. But it's also available with higher CPU and lower GPU options with the link below. And if it has a good sale, we'll list it on our gaminglaptop.deals website so you can save money. The keyboard has one zone of RGB backlighting, and all keys and secondary functions get lit up. There are 3 levels of key brightness with a function and spacebar shortcut, but there's no shortcut to change the lighting effect. You have to go into Gigabyte's Gmate software to do that, where there are only 4 different lighting effects anyway. But you also get more granular control over the brightness and speed of the effects. The difference between the different key brightness levels was extremely small. They all looked pretty similar to me. The keyboard has 1.7mm of travel and actually feels pretty nice to type with. The keys have a clicky feel and I just like typing with it. I noticed the middle of the keyboard moves a little while typing though. The touchpad feels nice and smooth and clicks down anywhere. I found it nice and accurate, no problems there. Ports are found on the left and right sides, and there's a decent selection. But too bad about the ancient USB 2.0, and that the left ports are so close to the front. The spec sheet says Type-C charging, but it didn't work with our regular charger. HDMI and Type-C connect directly to the Nvidia graphics if you turn Optimus off in the BIOS, which is ideal for VR and maxing performance in games with a monitor. Getting inside requires removing 10 Phillips head screws, all the same length. It was easy to remove the bottom metal panel with pry tools. I'll leave a link to the ones I use below. Once inside, we've got the battery down the front, 2 memory slots near the middle, the installed M.2 SSD to the left, a spare M.2 slot to the right of the battery, and the Wi-Fi 6E card just above the battery. Wi-Fi performs well for a 6E card, only significantly beaten by laptops with the newer Wi-Fi 7. Speeds from the installed 1TB PCIe Gen 4 SSD were good, but the spare SSD slot has a catch. 2 actually. Not only is it slower with 2 lanes of PCIe Gen 4 instead of 4, meaning you won't be able to fully utilize the fastest SSDs, but it doesn't fit drives with chips on both sides either, so you're limited to lower capacity drives with flat bottoms. But the primary slot can fit double-sided drives if you're upgrading the boot drive. I lowered the upgrade score by half a point for the lack of double-sided drive support, but otherwise it's good for a 16-inch laptop with the 2 swappable memory slots, 2 M.2 storage slots, and upgradable Wi-Fi. There are speakers on the left and right sides towards the front. They sound decent, clear enough with some bass, but not amazing. and you'll feel some wrist-rest vibration at higher volumes. The Latencymon results weren't impressive in our 5-minute idle test. Gigabyte's Aero X16 is powered by a 76 watt-hour battery. Panel power saving is enabled by default, which automatically lowers the screen's refresh rate to 60 Hz when you unplug the charger to help save power, and it goes back up to 165 Hz when you plug back in. You can also limit the battery's maximum charge level to 80 or 60% to help the battery last longer, as keeping it fully charged all the time can degrade it. Battery life was excellent considering its size, lasting for 8 hours and 44 minutes in our YouTube video playback test, while the gaming result was the 4th best out of 260 laptops we've tested. Very impressive. It lost 22% of its battery charge while asleep for 24 hours. But this isn't a fair comparison with the other laptops, as the Aero has the smallest battery tested so far. Here's how much battery power was lost on average per hour, which is a fair comparison. So it's one of the better results out of the laptops tested. Let's check out thermals next. The CPU and GPU are covered by a standard heat pipe cooler with 2 pipes shared between the CPU and GPU. Air comes in through the vents above the keyboard and to the fans through plenty of vents underneath, and gets exhausted out of the left and right sides and out from the back towards the corners. Gigabyte's Gmate software allows us to change between different performance modes, which from lowest to highest are power saving, online meeting, balance, creator, and game mode. Each mode lets you set a different fan profile, but apart from this, you can't manually control the fan curves. The internal temperatures are very cool at idle, and that continues with the rest of the results, which are from combined CPU and GPU stress tests, which aim to represent a worst-case full-load scenario. Worst case, the CPU is running in the 60s while the GPU barely hits the low 70s, which is very cool for a gaming laptop under load. Manually changing the fan from its default performance mode to turbo mode did lower the temps a bit, but as you'll hear soon, it's louder too. There wasn't much difference with the lid closed, so no problem if you want to dock the laptop. You won't need a stand or cooling pad, as the Aero already runs cool enough on its own without any tweaks. Interestingly, CPU clock speeds were exactly the same regardless of the performance mode in use. Only GPU clocks change, but are mostly the same once we get into creator or performance modes, with better cooling allowing the 5070 to clock slightly higher. This is because the 5070 graphics was only able to run up to 75 watts. According to Nvidia's control panel, the 5070 in this laptop could run up to 85 watts with dynamic boost, so it's not the full powered 100 watt version. That combined with the CPU always being capped at 20 watts explains why the CPU and GPU are running so cool. Given there's so much thermal headroom, I thought it would have been nice to have the higher performance modes actually boost the power limits up a bit more, but we're probably limited by the small 150 watt charger. Here's how an actual game performs with the different performance modes in use. I've got the native results without upscaling shown in purple, and a demonstration of what's possible with DLSS upscaling in red to boost performance. There's really not that much difference between the modes. Game and creator mode are basically the same, while balance and online meeting modes were only a few FPS behind. The CPU can use more power in a CPU-only workload like Cinebench, where the GPU is idle. But again, there's not really much of a difference between many of the modes. CPU performance isn't too bad, beating ASUS's more expensive Zephyrus G14 from last year in both single and multi-core performance, though that uses a last-gen Zen 4 chip, while the Aero uses current-gen Zen 5. Gigabyte's older G6X was a bit better in multi-core performance with the Intel chip, but the tables turn when we unplug the charger and instead run the test on battery power. The Aero barely lowers at all, and ultimately this is a good result for an 8-core processor. As for keyboard temps, most laptops I test are in the low 30°C range on the keyboard at idle, and the Aero was mostly in line with this, except for a warm spot near the spacebar and arrow keys. It gets warmer with the stress test running, but the middle of the keyboard only feels a little warm. None of it feels hot. Same deal with online meeting mode. The warmer hottest point is right up the back, but you don't need to touch there. It's much the same in the higher balance mode, as the fans get louder to compensate for the extra power it's using. Creator mode is pretty similar too. Most of the keyboard feels good, even the hotspot is only a little warm. Game mode is basically the same, which isn't surprising as the CPU and GPU power limits are the same as creator mode. The hottest point of the keyboard near the spacebar and arrow key wasn't actually that bad compared to many other laptops tested. As we saw, the important places you'd actually be touching, like the wrist rest and WASD area, stay cool. Let's listen to how loud the fans get next. The fans were only just audible when idling in power-saving mode. Even worst case in game mode, they're really not too loud. And we can actually lower the total noise with the cooling pad at 800 RPM. But things can get ridiculously loud if we turn the pad up. And there's no real benefit to doing that, as the lower power limits prevented getting anywhere near hot anyway. It's one of the quietest laptops tested in game mode, with the fans on the default performance mode, and quieter compared to previous Gigabyte laptops. Alright, let's move on to the screen. The Aero is available with either a 1920 by 1200 or 2560 by 1600 IPS panel, and I've got the latter. Overall, it looks decent. It's not a premium panel, but it's not bad either. The screen looks fine for gaming, but content creators should look for something with higher color gamut. Brightness peaks at over 400 nits, which is fairly bright. Just note that most of that comes right at the top end of the brightness slider, with a 100 nit jump between 90% and 100% brightness. This puts it ahead of other budget Gigabyte laptops, and even beats their premium 17-inch model from a couple of years ago, though last year's Aura 16X was better, but their Aorus range is also a higher tier. I had some backlight bleed. It wasn't noticeable unless viewing all dark content, but this will vary between each panel. Screen response time was decent. Ideally, a 165Hz screen needs transitions to occur within a 6.06 millisecond refresh window, and the average isn't much slower than this. Again, it's ahead compared to previous Gigabyte laptops, but those were also cheaper too. The more premium and more expensive Aorus models are faster, but overall, the Aero isn't too bad here. The total system latency measures the time between a mouse click and when a gunshot fire shows up on screen in Counter-Strike 2. The Aero is only a little slower than their more expensive Aorus 16X, and it's more than twice as quick compared to their previous G6X. It's not slow, but there are faster options for less money. Most laptops these days have advanced Optimus, allowing you to automatically get better FPS in games without a reboot, but not the Aero. It does at least have a MUX Switch, which needs a reboot, but it doesn't have an option in software to toggle it, so you have to manually dig through the BIOS. There's no G-Sync either, but FreeSync is available with Optimus on. There's a 1080p camera above the screen in the middle, and it has IR for Windows Hello Face Unlock. Here's how it sounds while typing on the keyboard. Alright, let's see how well Gigabyte Aero performs in games. We've tested it with these settings for best results. This is our first time with the RTX 5070 laptop graphics, and in most cases, it's very close to the RTX 4070 in the Legion 7i. Granted, that is one of the better 4070 laptops we've tested, and it's got a higher GPU power limit than the Aero. The 4070 laptop also has a better performing processor, and all these differences add up to the 4070 laptop being ahead of the 5070 in most cases. Generally speaking though, with everything the same, I would expect the 5070 to be slightly ahead, and I will be comparing them in a future dedicated video, so make sure you're subscribed for that. Both GPUs have 8 gigs of VRAM, which may be limiting in future games at the native 2560 by 1600 resolution of the laptop screen. Here are the 3D Mark results. Content creator results were especially good in Adobe Photoshop for some reason. Otherwise, the RTX 5070 graphics were behind the more powerful laptops we've tested so far this year. The BIOS looks good, but don't get your hopes up. Apart from the MUX Switch, there's basically nothing useful here for customizing or tuning. Linux worked great out of the box. Everything worked fine except 6 GHz Wi-Fi, but that'd probably be fine with some drivers. Pricing and availability will change over time, so check the links below the video for updates and to see if there are current sales. Because if the Aero does have a good sale, we'll add it to our gaminglaptop.deals website. We update that every day to include all of the best sales, so make sure you check it out regularly to save money on your next gaming laptop with that link below. At the time of recording in late June, it starts from $1,500 for the RTX 5060 graphics, while the one with RTX 5070 I've tested in this video goes for $1,650. And that's just way too expensive, at least without a good sale. Because with sales, we've seen better laptops like Lenovo's Legion 7i or Asus's Zephyrus G16 go for less than $1,400. And that's with last-gen 4070 graphics. But performance will be fairly close in games. So assuming the Aero X16 goes on sale and you're considering it, here's the quick summary of the good and the bad to help you decide if it's worth it. The Aero looks sleek, it runs cooler and quieter than most, and is one of the lightest 16-inch gaming laptops out there. Performance is decent despite the power-limited 5070. Battery life is excellent, Linux support is solid, and the keyboard and touchpad both feel nice to use. Future upgradability is good too, just avoid double-sided SSDs. But it's not all smooth sailing. Despite the premium-feeling materials, the keyboard flexes more than I'd like and is noticeable even when typing. And it slides on my desk easier than it should, a combination of poor grip and the lighter weight. Ports right near the front aren't ideal, and USB 2.0 in 2025 feels like a crime.
Hello, FBI.
There's no G-Sync, but maybe that matters less given the MUX Switch is buried in the BIOS without a software toggle. It feels like performance is left on the table due to the lower power limits. To be fair, higher power would increase the temps, but I think the compromise of a bit warmer with a slightly bigger 180-watt charger would have been worth it for the extra performance. So then, who is the Aero for? If you want a cooler, quieter, portable laptop that can still be used to game on or create, then it could be worth considering, with the right sale. But as things stand at full retail price, it's just not worth it compared to other options we've had on the gaminglaptop.deals website before, like the last-gen Legion 7i or Zephyrus G16, both of which offer more performance, better build quality, and better screens. I actually compared both of those laptops over here, and they tied for first place in my top gaming laptops of 2024 list. So check this one out next if you're looking for a portable 16-inch gaming laptop.